everyone, and welcome to another episode of Woman to Woman Kitchen Table Talk. Here with me today, of course, is the lovely Thea. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is caretaker stress. Now, if at any point in your life you've been a caretaker for someone who's ailing or someone who's terminal, someone who just needs round-the-clock care, you know that it can be strenuous. It's a labor of love, but it is labor. And it can be really stressful for those of us who go through it, especially if you don't have a whole lot of support. And for the most part, it tends to be us women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's always the women. It's always the sister. It's always the aunt. It's always that one sibling, that one female sibling, typically. Not that it's always, because you do have the instance where, it's whoever is available. But for the most part, it's us women. And so we're caught in this delicate balance because we are caretakers for the children and we're also caretakers for ailing parents. Yes. Or we may be caretaker for ailing spouse. And either way, at some point in that mix, we lose ourselves. I know it firsthand. It is not easy. And I can speak now having gone through it, but I'll tell you, it was a rough walk. Yes. So I know for me, it was taking care of my mom, and my mom and I were like two peas in a pod.
Yes.
2 peas in a pod. So it was that much more difficult emotionally because, boy, I'm looking at my mom fading, So that part, the emotional side of that is harrowing. And then you're having to handle all of the responsibilities for taking care of this person as well as taking care of yourself. Yes. How do you cope? So Thea, what has been your experience so far having to be caretaker?
So I'm fortunate enough where I still have both my parents. They're older. My father is 94 and my mom will be 85 in a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday, Mom.
Yes. And for me, the biggest stressor of it was these were my parents. I grew up seeing them doing all this stuff.
Doing everything.
Everything, and most of us, if we're close to our parents, we think that they're they're superheroes.
They're superheroes.
And once they start getting to a certain age and they're no longer able to do things, and have to be the adult and step in.
And they don't like it.
Oh my goodness.
They tend to be resistant to it.
That's where my biggest stressor was, to actually sit down and have that discussion. For my dad, it was real easy because Daddy is the most easygoing person on the face of this earth. You tell him, Daddy, sit there and do this. Okay.
And he'll listen.
Mom, on the other hand,
not so much.
No, she fought us tooth and nail. And she's the one with most of the health issues. So I had to call a family meeting, and lucky for me, I have other siblings. But they did not take the proactive approach. They figure, it's mom and dad, they're older, we'll just let them do what they want to do.
They'll be fine. No.
I was like, because what they're doing, especially mom, is not beneficial for her.
Right.
So we need to step in, make the decision, and go ahead and start taking care of them, basically. And it took a couple of years for her to start accepting the fact that she needs help. So with her, we had to take away the car keys because she actually blacked out. She was driving.
Oh no.
And she blacked out behind the wheel of her car. The car swerved onto incoming traffic.
Oh no.
God made it so that the person coming in the opposite direction
saw what was happening.
Was a nurse on her way home from work.
Wow.
She named me Althea because my name had to be the first in her phone. When the nurse saw the phone sitting, she picked it up. She called me.
The first number.
Number.
Wow.
And right then and there, I decided that, listen, no, you're not driving anymore.
That's it. Yep.
So I took away what I thought was the only set of key.
She had another one.
She had 5 more sets.
That is the thing with parents. That is the thing. It is very difficult to get them to submit.
Yes.
They don't want to submit.
That alone right there was the biggest stressor because I'm like, Mom, I don't ever want to get that phone call again.
That's nerve-wracking.
Yes.
I got one. It's not good.
So finally, and we had to sell the car. So, and her biggest issue was, how am I going to get around? How am I going to do this? Mom, we got this.
Yeah.
But you're doing this and you're doing that. Mom, we got this. That was the hardest thing for her because she's so independent.
Yes. Yes.
To accept the help. The second thing was, she still has her brain faculties, everything about her. But when she would go to the doctor would tell her her blood pressure was creeping up. We're going to put you on blood pressure meds. Mom, how'd your doctor's appointment go? Oh, it went great. And because we were, as we had our own lives, because we have our own families to take care of, we weren't checking. Then she would walk from here. She would literally take no more than 10 steps. She'd be out of breath.
So you knew something was wrong.
Something was wrong. Had another family meeting, and all right, something is wrong. Something is up with Mom. Her legs, not just the feet, her legs would swell up because she started to retain fluids. She had a 90% blockage in one of her arteries.
Oh my God. And she didn't tell you?
No.
And she knew?
She went to a cardiologist.
So she knew?
She knew.
And said nothing?
Said nothing. I was like, no, something's wrong.
That's what they do.
So I was like, okay. I started to call all of her medical, her doctors, her primary care.
To get the information from them.
No, I did something, one step. I put my name
on all of
everything, so they have to call me to schedule her appointments.
Good. And that is something key, because what happened with my mom had Parkinson's, and she never told me. Now I went away to school and came back, so now I've got the fresh eyes, the trained eyes, and so now I come back and I go, I notice certain things, and I say to myself, okay, this is looking. She's got the flat affect. She's got the little shuffling
Something
gait.
is not right.
She's moving slow. I said, this is looking suspiciously like Parkinson's. I didn't say it to her, but I said, when is your next doctor's appointment? And she said, such and such. I said, okay, I'm coming with you. So I went with her because in my mind, I'm coming to blaze up this doctor, because I'm saying, okay, who are you? Because what kind of doctor could you be to not see that this woman has Parkinson's disease and not be treating it? So I had, blood in my eyes. I'm coming for this doctor. We get there, and he's, I'm cordial, because I didn't want to come off as aggressive right away.
Taught you manners.
Exactly. So I was nice. And then he said, okay, so you have any questions? I said, absolutely. I said, I noticed that she has, she's moving a little slow, and I'm seeing some signs of Parkinson's. And he says to me, oh, yeah, she has it. And I go,
Really?
Really? So I look at my mom, and she keeps her head straight. She's not looking at me at all. She's like, I'm not trying to see this right now.
I'm not ready to deal with
I do not want to have
now.
this conversation, because the child is going to go off. And so she didn't look at me, and I said, all right. He said, well, I said, how long? He goes, oh, she's had it for a long time. So I said, all right, no problem. Because at that point, I said, so what have you prescribed? What is she on for it? And he said, oh, yeah, we started on levodopa. It's a low dose. I never saw that prescription.
She hid it from you.
Okay. So anyway, so at that point now I know that she has it. So I get outside the appointment, and I said, so Mommy, when were you going to tell me that you were diagnosed with Parkinson's? She said, oh, I didn't believe I had it. But I know what it was. She didn't want me to worry.
Right.
So anyway, and that's what they do. So they will hide their diagnoses. So if you're out there and you have an elderly parent, dig into their health information. They may not volunteer it. They won't volunteer it, in fact. But you're going to have to find it, especially if you're starting to see signs.
Right.
Mom, dad. You know how they normally operate, and you see they're forgetting everything. They're making simple mistakes. Things that you would think that they know automatically. Now they're not doing it. The memory lapses are there, and they're becoming critical. They go to the grocery store and they call you and go, I don't remember where I am right now.
Wow.
That's major. So anything that you're starting to see close up that looks a little off, take steps to go to the doctor's appointments with them. Have them put you on as a medical proxy, so that the doctors have to notify you. What is going on. Any medical decisions that have to be made, you're on there. So that makes you a little proactive. Early on what's happening, so you can start putting things in place.
And for Dad, it wasn't as noticeable because he is now legally blind. He's lost his vision
Completely.
and it's completely gone in one eye, and I'm gonna say maybe 15 or 20% in the other eye. So he can only see images from one eye. So when we go by to speak to him now, we have to talk, and sometimes he touches our face. I love when he touches my face because But anyway, I digress.
Yes.
With him, and I would see things happen. It's like hindsight. I didn't know. It's 2020. I did not realize that he was losing his vision. My dad grew up drinking, and I thought, no, maybe he had one too many. But he would be walking, and they've lived in the same house for 30 years. But then he started bumping into things. And
Telltale sign.
Yeah. I was like, when I was by there, okay, why did Daddy just walk? He knows the route.
He knows exactly where to go.
But he would bump into a piece of furniture. And, Daddy, you okay? Oh, try to tell you something. Cover it up. And by the time it became serious enough where Mom started to notice it, and she took him to the doctor. I'm the only one of my siblings who don't care about driving on the highway. So by process of elimination, I had to take it. Come to find out, the glaucoma and the cataracts were in advanced stages. And
nothing they could do.
They could have operated, but he was dead set against the surgery. And we tried, and this was like 15 years ago when he was young. He was, he's younger.
He would have been able to bounce back a little bit better.
A little bit better. But he did not want it. And at that time, I didn't have the power of attorney. So I wasn't able to go in and make a decision. And talking to the doctors, they were like, you know what? We can't force him to do it. He has to do, it has to be his decision. And not even Mommy could go in and do it. So that part of it, I think back and go, but then knowing that there was nothing that I could have done to prevent it, makes me feel a little bit better.
But the truth is, your parents are sentient beings. They have their own decisions. They have their own mind.
Yes.
They have free will. So you cannot overrule their desires, right? They've made their choices. Now they just have to live with the consequences of those choices. But what we can do is help and assist.
Yes.
So what we have to do to help minimize our own stresses is, one, first of all, recognize that they've made their decisions. Don't take that on and make that now a compounding issue. Add to your own stress, because that will have you going down a rabbit hole, and there's no good outcome in that. So recognize that whatever station they're in now, this is a result of either just chance because they have this affliction, or choices they've made have now led them to this situation, and they've chosen not to do anything about it. That's their decision. So we now just have to support.
Yes.
Right? That's the best that we can do. First thing you want to start doing is, once you see your parents starting to have, or whoever you're caring for, starting to have cognitive issues, before it gets to the point where they no longer can make decisions on their own, have the conversation with them.
Yes.
It's a hard conversation.
Yes.
It is the hardest thing you probably will do next to putting them to rest, is having a conversation with a parent to say, okay, the outcome we know is coming. How do you want to proceed? What do you want to happen? What are your desires? What are your absolute no-nos? What are your absolute yeses? So that I'm comfortable with making these decisions on your behalf. So, because that alleviates some of your own stress.
Yes.
When you don't know what they want and you don't know what they would be happy with, you're going to feel a kind of way about making decisions that you're making based on your feelings.
On what you would want.
And that's not fair to them. So, have the very difficult conversation early on and say, listen, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Heck, you could be taking care of me.
Right.
At this rate, the way the world is running, we don't know. But let me have this conversation so that, one, I'm put at ease if I have to make these decisions for you. And second, I know exactly what decisions to make.
Yes.
That's key.
Because at a point where the inevitable happens, if they decide to, if time comes when they precede us, we're going to be stressed out about that
by itself.
So not knowing what they would have wanted, here you are dealing with the loss, And over here you have to think, okay, well, what would mommy want? What would daddy, what would this person want at this time?
That's
and
not the time to be stressed.
yeah,
about that.
I have been dealing with it more so over the last few years with close friends, with you. And I am like, oh my gosh, how are you? Because I was there with you and your mom.
Yep. And so you know the story.
I know the story. But put you on stage and you're like, I'm like, oh my gosh, looking at you and
You think I'm just
yes,
fully okay. No, I was not okay.
I knew what was going on behind the scenes.
Exactly.
And yes, of course, you were falling apart.
But you had to hold it together.
You hold it together. But you had that discussion with her.
So that was not a part of my grief.
Right.
Those decisions I knew were what she wanted, so
Yes.
I didn't have to lose my mind about, oh my God, I don't know. Okay. That would have been too much. That kind of stress is a whole nother one.
And I got exposed to that because one of my older sisters at age 42 had a stroke. And her husband at the time didn't know what to do because he was used to this healthy, vibrant. She's young, 42.
That's young. 42
Yes.
is young.
And my other siblings started freaking out. She's gonna die. Everybody, their minds just went to she's gonna die.
Here.
And I'm the type of person, I'm selfish.
You want her to be
Yes,
here.
and I told this to my parents. I'm not ready for you to die yet.
So you can't go
So
anywhere.
yeah, you can't go anywhere.
That's it.
And I don't think I told this to my sister, but that's the mentality that I had.
So you were going to do whatever you could.
Whatever I could.
To help, exactly.
And having to help her to go to the bathroom. Having to bathe her. Because her husband was afraid to touch her because apparently he thought she was going to break. But her stroke was stress related. And it could have been prevented. Not eating right. And
not finding an outlet.
Right. Yeah, she would hold everything in.
We do that, ladies, and it's deadly. Seriously.
Yes. So I'm like, this is my big sister. She's supposed to take care of me, but I had to put that out of my head quickly
And function.
And I functioned great under stress.
I do too.
Yes.
It's bad. It's a double-edged sword, honestly. But anyway.
But I had to take care of one of my older sisters, and now looking at her,
you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know that she had a stroke at 42, and this was almost 20 years ago.
Wow. So how did you get through that? What were you having to bathe your sibling? How do you manage that mentally and then be able to translate that into action?
I don't think I thought about it at that time. I literally.
Yeah, you don't.
I just knew that I had to do what I had to do.
Right.
Then I would go home and cry.
Yeah.
I literally go home, go in the bathroom, be by myself, and cry.
Just cry. Yeah.
Because
you had to get it out.
I had to get it out.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to anyone about it. I just cried.
Just cried it out.
And I think I threw some things at some point, and I broke some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
just to get that anger. This is not supposed to be happening to her.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, this was almost 20 years ago that this happened. So I wasn't educated enough to seek help for myself.
For yourself.
Yes.
Yes, and for yourself. See, this is a perfect segue.
Yes.
As caregivers, we neglect ourselves. I know firsthand because I neglected myself to the point that I ended up in my doctor's office and she had to lock me in a room, give me horse tranquilizers basically because the medication was that strong to bring my blood pressure down. It was that serious. So, and this was after my mom passed. So my blood pressure, because I had no time to think about me, I was just going with no break, going. And I took a break maybe here and then it'd be a whole year and change before another break came. That was not the way to go. And, it almost took me out of here. I almost went to go see mama. So first order of business is go to a doctor. when you take your loved one to the make an appointment to find a doctor in the same building, whatever you have to do, get yourself checked out first and foremost.
Yes.
So that one, you can catch anything that's happening at the time and mitigate it as you're going through this difficult circumstance. Because managing the stress is critical. Second thing, get help. Find it. I don't care if you have to call 911. Don't call 911. But go online, search for support groups.
Yes.
Find a respite care person. I had an amazing caregiver for my mom who would come and just give me a break every now and again. And that's Jackie. God bless Jackie. When I tell you, that woman literally saved my life. Not even a joke.
Yeah.
Because I could close my eyes, I could get in my car and drive and just go out of town for a day or two,
and
just to clear my
having
head
to
and
worry.
not have to worry. I wouldn't even have to look at my phone because I know Jackie was taking good care. My mom would call her sometimes and talk when she could still talk. I would just call her just to talk to her because she said, I don't want to call Jenny because I know she's worried. But
She'd
I
call
just,
Jackie.
all right. So she'd call Jackie because she wanted to talk and interact when she could still talk. So find someone,
You know, and
however you find them. Get support groups. I actually had started a Facebook group for caretakers, and I think
Yes.
I'm going to get it back up and running because it's a necessary resource. I had actually started also a nonprofit for patients with Parkinson's, and
yes.
part of that support is going to be having a group of people who are able to, okay, call this person, she can go and sit with your mom or sit with your sister or daughter or whomever, give you a little break. If it's even for a day to go to a doctor's appointment, if it's even for a couple hours to go get a massage, go to the beach, get some time for yourself, get away. You must find a way to manage your stress or it will take you out. And if your loved one only has you to care for them, what happens if you're not available?
right.
What happens if you're gone? So you have to find a way to manage that stress. Find someone who is like your second, who can take care. It's called respite care, but they'll take care of a person for a day or two, or whatever you need to just be able to give yourself a break.
And for most individuals, depending on what the severity of their ailment is, if they have any type of insurance, those are things that you need to check with the insurance company because
see if
they
it's
have
covered.
those benefits. And you talk about Jackie. We have Miss Lorna for Mommy and Daddy.
So you have somebody.
So, yes, we have somebody.
Yes, you must
You
have
know,
somebody.
have somebody. And
It's important.
if there's anything, they're going to call us.
Exactly.
Back in the day when my sister went through that, I didn't have that. But find somebody.
And it's
talk
easier
to.
to do so now.
Yes.
Because there are so many support groups out there now, especially for parents who have children with autism, who are
Yes.
struggling, the ones who are on the spectrum who just are really difficult to control, who are having behavioral issues. There are support groups out there. Find yourself a support
Everywhere.
group. Find someone close in your neighborhood because they're going through what you're going through and they understand certain things you don't have to explain. When you're talking to somebody who has every sibling healthy, they're single, they're out there partying, having a good time, they don't understand. They don't
No.
speak your language. And it's not that they're being mean or insensitive. They just don't really have an understanding. They don't. So you can't expect them to. They will never understand until they walk those shoes.
Yes.
So find people who are going through the same kind of issue because that language is understood. There's some things you don't even have to say. They get it,
Yes.
right? And so they're able to also provide you with additional resources. There was actually a place down in Southwest Miami that would have done some advanced therapy for Parkinson's that I found out about too late in the game. They're way down in Southwest, and at that time there was no time. I would have had to take my mom myself.
Right.
The hours just weren't conducive for me. It would not have worked. But had I known earlier in the game, I probably could have made some more arrangements. There's some things that you can do early on. Like with Parkinson's, there's certain therapies that they do early on that can prolong
Right.
life and comfort. Because it's not the disease itself that takes people out, it's the complications. So you're trying to maintain mobility and maintain certain things. With autism, that's lifelong with the children.
Yes.
So you have to find therapies that are helpful for your child. And not everything works with every child.
Right.
So find what works for your child, and maybe you'll find another parent out there who has a child on the same spectrum that does this thing and it helps this child. It may work for yours. So expose yourself to those groups because it's helpful. That's going to give you a lot of stress relief.
And I have a friend who has a baby that was born with autism, and for the longest while, she didn't know what was up with him. And he's now 7 years old, fully functional. But when I met her 3 years ago,
She was losing her
Oh,
mind.
her and her literally her they're separated now. They're going through a divorce now because
of this.
they both didn't know what was going on with this child
And couldn't see eye to eye.
Yeah, they couldn't see eye to eye.
Mm-hmm.
And she has gone through so much. She goes, and every time that she discovers something new that another parent can with an autistic child
on the spectrum,
she will share it.
Mm-hmm.
And school, he is fully functional in school because she
of those
found
things. She went and found
she found the right school to put him in. She found the right
Exactly.
teacher.
Exactly.
So for parents out there who have a child, a special needs child, please do some research.
Mm-hmm.
You are not the only one that is going through this.
Exactly.
There's help out there, and there are resources, and there are other people who are going through the same thing.
You're not
you
out
don't
there
have to
alone.
go through this by yourself.
You're not alone.
So
you're absolutely not alone. You may feel that way on a lot of days and nights. I'll tell you, you will feel that way. You will feel like you just want to drive off a cliff. But I mean, literally, like I literally had that experience. I was just going to drive until there was no more road left. I literally had that feeling, and you will feel like you're losing your mind. It's not unusual. You're not a bad person. It is a natural sequelae of the stress. You're human, and it's okay to feel not okay, and it is okay to get help. Get help. Find a support group. Find someone to talk to that you can confide in, who's going to just listen and be a shoulder, because they don't have any answers. But sometimes just to listen, for you to be able to just let it out, however it comes out. If whatever you got to do, however you have to say it. If you have to cuss, I don't care. I don't know. Whatever you have to do to get that stress out of you, do it. Look, find a way, because you will not be here anymore if you don't find a way to manage it.
And I wanted to share this for those of us who have insurance. Mm-hmm. There is something called EAP, Employee Assistance Program. Mm-hmm. I have used that on numerous occasions to deal with the different stresses in my life. It didn't have to be with just something with a family. It could be something work related, but
it's available.
Use EAP. Use it.
Use it. Find those resources.
To a therapist.
It's necessary.
Yes.
Because this here governs everything.
Yes.
So if this isn't together, nothing else is going to be together.
Everything else is going to fall apart.
It's going to completely fall apart. So get yourself, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a caretaker, self-care is paramount.
Yes.
Yes, you have to care for this person who's in your charge that you're responsible for, but at the same time, do not neglect yourself. You're doing more damage to yourself and to your loved one by not caring for yourself. Because if something happens to you, what happens to them? You're their support system, so you really have to care for yourself. So I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, I know you're going through a lot, but you're not the only one going through it. There are resources out there, and if you need help, womansnest.com, email us, whatever you got to do, womansnest@gmail. We can help you, guide you to find some resources out there that no matter what kind of caretaker stress you're going through, we can guide you in the right direction. And if it means finding you a therapist, so be it. We'll do that too. Or you need somebody to sit and watch your parent, your child, your sibling, your loved one, whatever it is, don't hesitate to reach out, because you are not alone. You're not going through this by yourself, and we're here for you at Woman's Nest. So see you here again at Kitchen Table Talk next time, right here at Our Times TV.